Serial killer Israel Keyes kidnapped 18-year-old barista Samantha Koenig at gunpoint at Anchorage's Common Grounds Espresso on February 12, 2012. Keyes approached the coffee kiosk around 8 p.m. and ordered a drink, according to Method of a Serial Killer. Surveillance footage from that night shows Koenig giving Keyes his order and then looking shocked. You see her body language change. She goes from someone who's just serving someone coffee to being very nervous and very concerned, former FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon said on Method of a Serial Killer. Keyes later told investigators that when he pulled out a gun and demanded money, Koenig put her hands in the air and backed away from the kiosk window. Koenig then turned off the lights at Keyes' apparent request, and Keyes entered the shop through the front window. Keyes claimed he bound her wrists with zip ties and dragged her out of the shop. You can tell she's sort of siding with him because she believes he's going to rob the place. It just didn't dawn on her that she was in danger until he started walking her out, said Casey Grove, a former Anchorage Daily News reporter. While Keyes was leading Koenig to his car, she attempted to flee, but Keyes quickly caught up to her and tackled her to the ground. He pointed his gun at Koenig and told her it had very quiet ammo, telling her not to do anything that would cause him to kill her. The murderer did not kill his victim immediately after her abduction. He kept her alive for several hours and brought her back to her work so she could get her cell phone. While driving to his house, he told the victim that he only wanted to hold her for ransom. However, this was a complete lie. After taking Samantha's debit card and cell phone, he no longer needed her alive. He took her from his truck and shifted her into his tool shed, tying her up by the neck. The victim wasn't reported missing until the next day, hours after she had already died. 3 weeks after Samantha went missing, her boyfriend received a text message from her phone directing him to a specific location in a nearby park. When they arrived, they discovered a ransom note demanding $30,000 and a picture. Keyes returned from his holiday and decided to take Samantha's ransom photo, promising her parents that she would be safe if they paid the ransom. While she had died by this point, Keyes made certain that she was depicted in the photograph alive. Samantha's boyfriend was also texted from her phone by Keyes, who instructed him to look for a package in the local park. The photo and note demanding $30,000 be deposited in Samantha's bank account were discovered by Anchorage police. The parents paid the ransom because they wanted to see their daughter alive. The ransom was paid because the picture was convincing enough. Samantha, on the other hand, never returned. Her debit card began to ping after she deposited money into her account. It denoted a number of locations, including Anchorage, Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas. The FBI quickly determined that her kidnapper was traveling east on Interstate 10. Aside from that, the murderer made a mistake in one of his first withdrawals. An ATM camera captured a white Ford Focus and a masked man, making it easy for authorities to apprehend him. The information was then distributed to law enforcement officers throughout the corridor. Within a few days of receiving such information, a Texas state trooper spotted a car in a hotel parking lot in the town of Shepherd. He waited for the owner to emerge and then followed the car until it sped up, pulling Keyes over the second he did. When he searched the vehicle, he discovered Samantha's ATM card, cell phone, and the same disguise that Keyes wore while being photographed. Israel Keyes is a native of Utah. He claimed to have committed his first murder in 1998, shortly after enlisting in the U.S. Army. He had murdered 9 people from various states before coming to Samantha, including Vermont, Washington, New York, and Florida. Keyes lived with his girlfriend Kimberly and his 10-year-old daughter. He'd never killed so close to home before. Keyes murdered Samantha in his own backyard, and the details of her death are terrifying. When he kidnapped Samantha, he told her it was for robbery and told her to turn off the coffee shop's lights. He bound her hands, jumped through the window, and stuffed napkins into her mouth after she turned off the lights, forcing her to leave the stand and get into his pickup truck. She obeyed despite her fear. He told the victim on the way to his house that he only wanted to hold her for ransom. It was, however, a complete lie. He no longer required Samantha's life after stealing her debit card and cell phone. He dragged her out of his truck and into his tool shed, tying her up by the neck. Keyes went inside to make sure his girlfriend and daughter were sleeping. He poured a glass of wine for Samantha, drank it in front of her, and told her he would rape her before strangling her to death with the rope he had already tied around her neck, and he did exactly that. He returned to his home after leaving her body, and at 5 a.m., he called a cab to the airport and flew to New Orleans for a 2-week Caribbean cruise he had planned with his family. When Keyes returned from his holiday, he decided to take Samantha's ransom photo and promise her parents that if they paid the ransom, she would be safe. While she had died by this point, Keyes made certain that she was depicted in the photograph alive. He sewed her eyelids open with a fishing line, braided her hair, and applied makeup to her face. Keyes then propped the body up against the wall and photographed it. He referred to this photograph as proof of life, indicating that he had not harmed the victim. After receiving the ransom, Israel Keyes dismembered the victim's body and disposed of all her remains in a frozen lake to the north of Palmer, Alaska. Samantha's murder occurred in February. Her body, however, was discovered in the first week of April, just days after Israel Keyes confessed to killing her. He described how he staged the ransom by sewing the victim's eyelids open during his confession. Israel Keyes attempted to flee a courtroom in May 2012 after breaking his leg irons during a routine hearing. But the authorities quickly restrained him, and his escape attempt failed. On December 2, 2012, he managed to conceal a razor blade in his jail cell at the Anchorage Correctional Complex in Alaska. He killed himself with the same blade. "We are one," Keyes wrote in his will. He used his own blood to draw 11 skulls. According to officials, the 11 skulls represented the total number of his victims. Keyes did not just kill Samantha. When he was apprehended by the authorities, he confessed to murdering them. Official records exist for 2 missing people, the Vermont couple Bill and Lorraine Currier. According to his confessions, he planned murders ahead of time and did not have a specific victim profile, as he killed both men and women. Keyes would frequently kill far from home, pay only cash, and turn off his mobile phone to avoid being tracked in any way. However, in Samantha's case, things did not go his way. Even after his arrest, Keyes never revealed the specifics of the murders he committed. The number of people he killed is still unknown. He traveled to various locations where he knew he could find people alone and catch them off guard, according to his biography. He preferred to look for victims in places like campgrounds, secluded parks, and cemeteries. He also admitted to purchasing supplies near where he intended to find his victims. What are your thoughts on the Samantha Koenig's case? I really appreciate your input. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Be a part of the Chris Crime Diaries family and hit the subscribe button now.